If you have a lead paint problem, you can't trust all painters to handle it correctly. While lead paint can cause serious problem in severe cases, there are some simple steps you can take to address it safely. At Brush and Roll Painting in Omaha, Nebraska, we are EPA certified. We know what it takes to get a long-lasting paint project even when handling lead paint. In this video, we'll go over the dangers of lead paint and how to know if you have lead paint and the steps it takes to handle it properly. First, we'll discuss the dangers of lead paint. Lead paint poses serious health risks when inhaled, particularly to children and pregnant women. The Centers for Disease and Control Prevention, the CDC, reports that lead exposure can cause, in children, learning difficulties, developmental delays, reduced IQ, behavioral problems, and damage to the brain and nervous system. In adults, high blood pressure, kidney damage, cardiovascular issues, reproductive problems, and cognitive decline. Even if the original lead paint has been painted over, it can still cause problems. Signs you may have a lead paint problem. The first sign is if your house was built before 1978, then there's a good chance that you may have some lead. Paint condition. If the paint is peeling, if it's alligating, if it's chalking, and the house again was built before 1978, there's a great chance that you do have lead. The alligating is really a big thing. It's where the paint, it's called checking, where across it there's a bunch of cracking, and we call it cracking and crazing. In those areas, when we test, 90% of the time they do come back lead positive. High friction areas are going to be windows, railings, door openings, things like that. On the outside, it's going to be just your siding, the outer windows could be peeling or chipping. And those areas are a concern for lead dust to just kind of be in the air of your house. And one of the things that is just really dangerous with all this is when you have little kids, especially 3 years and younger, even 5 years and younger, they will put their mouths anywhere. They'll pick away at the chipping paint, and then they're known to stick it in their mouths, and that's really where a lot of the lead poisoning can come from. Also, on the outside, it's just the chips will fall into the ground. Kids like to play in dirt. I know it sounds funny, kids eating paint chips, but it does happen. How to have paint tested for lead. First of all, you need to have a certified painter or somebody that's certified with the EPA in lead, that have their lead certification. And then they need to be a risk assessor, certified lead-based paint inspector, or certified renovator. Steps to take to paint over lead. The first thing you have to do is you have to enclose the whole area. Make sure that you have the proper ventilation. On inside, you have to have a negative airflow to where we don't have dust going throughout the house, and we have to have absolutely everything covered. On the outside, we have to have plastic set up to where nothing's going into the soil of the ground, and we have to make sure that wherever we can, that we can enclose the whole area to where dust isn't flying, and to where lead dust isn't flying in the air as well. Our painters will have to have the proper PPE on, to wear lead suits. They also have to have respirators on, so they're not breathing in the lead as well. And then once we're all set up, then it's the process of removing the lead. We're not removing all of it, but what we are doing is scraping off all the loose and peeling paint. And then we're doing a really good sand. There's two ways we'll sand. We will sand either wet sand, or we'll actually use our vacuums that are attached to a sander. And that way we can keep that dust very low in those areas. And then when we're all done with that, then the guys have to clean everything up. And that's a whole process in itself of watering down all the plastic where the dust fell. They have to water down their suits, remove their suits, and they have to dispose of it according to the EPA specifications. So a lot of this stuff will take a lot more time than just doing a quick scrape prime, but it's so important just to make sure that we're not contaminating any of the areas and to make sure that we can contain all the lead dust in the area. Because of all of these factors, making sure to do everything the proper way according to the EPA and just to make sure your house is safe and your kids are safe, it does cost a lot more. We're looking at 30 to 50% more than if we were to scrape non-lead paint. So it is a little more expensive, but it is very, very important that it's done correctly. I hope this video has helped you to understand the next step you should take in handling lead paint. Click the link below to get a quote to paint your home.